Today, I'm interviewing two successful e-commerce entrepreneurs who've made millions from their brands.
The first winning product was like 120K in the first month, and then that like showed me that it was possible.
Tiffany does over $2 million per year from her business. David has done $1 million in 10 days, and they'll be sharing how they did it. I'll be talking to them about their journey, the strategies that are working today, and of course, advice for aspiring e-commerce entrepreneurs. What has been your strategy for growing so fast?
It's one way that we've seen e-commerce shift.
My three biggest tips for e-com businesses are:
if you're looking to build an e-commerce brand, you'll definitely want to take notes because everything they share is going to be extremely useful and it's going to help you out with your brand. So let's get to the interviews.
So my name is David. I'm 26-year-old, an e-commerce marketing entrepreneur. And in this space, we're trying to build a clothing brand and also kind of like a movement for creatives, dreamers, and entrepreneurs to like create from rest and not from striving and burning out.
How'd you get started in e-com?
I started dropshipping when I was about 18. I saw a video of some guy making like 60K a month. And I was like, I want that. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. That made me want to drop out. Dropped out, failed at it for about 2 years, and then saw success with like a winning product. And then that kind of snowball effect. Just kept going at it back to back.
What was that first winning product?
You plug in the transmitter to a guitar, and then the other one to a speaker. So it removes the cables. And like my angle was don't trip as like you're performing, or like don't worry about the mess. You could just buy this.
So tell us about your upbringing and how it influenced who you are today.
I think one, coming from a different third world country, South America, Ecuador, and then coming here, we were okay financially there, but coming here and realizing like the shift of like the value of money, one that makes me just respect my parents and anyone that does that type of sacrifice. But just growing up with like not a lot of money and having that drive, that I don't think you could give to someone that doesn't have that or comes with a lot. It's gonna be harder for them to learn that. But if you come from not much, it's actually like, you should rejoice in that because you'll have an intrinsic value and drive to work that nobody else can compare to.
Did your parents want you to get into business or did they want you to go more traditional?
Yeah, I think when you come to America, obviously the traditional one is sold to you. So I can't blame them for wanting me to go to college. But I think after a year and a half, which I did go to college for a little bit, I read that book, right? And I dropped out because I just believed that it wasn't for me, even though I was good in school. It wasn't too hard. It was just about like, why am I doing it? And I just can't sacrifice this time. But I do value school, but I think you could learn so much through mentors and other access of education than you can through like actual education with college and stuff like that.
So we're here at David's office. Give us a tour.
Yeah, come on through. So this is where the team works. We have about like 6 amazing people that come here. We're just kind of grassroots, so we're just starting out. We got like the main things that we need, like the crucial parts. We have the little food station here, presentations with the TV, random little storage, and then we just got the sign for the brand. That'll be really cool to showcase. And then we'll figure out where to prop it up. And yeah, little whiteboard. Then we have the restroom here. And then there's this space. Right now we have it set up kind of for like music events. We throw like worship nights, but eventually for the brand, we'll hire like creatives or artists to come sing, perform, even like dancers, which is gonna be really fun because it's kind of like a big open space. And then this is kind of how the outside looks.
Oh.
Which is honestly pretty nice outside. And like for events, it'll be pretty cool because you could just have a bunch of people here.
Yeah.
And they don't have any like restrictions. The only bad thing is the train. We do have, the train is pretty loud a lot of the time.
How much is the rent here?
Around like 2.5, I think. We're in Santa Ana,
Which
California.
is Orange County. Do you think that having a space like this to work at, like dedicated space, is worth it instead of just building at home?
I think it does because it creates a professional environment and also like a community environment. Because if I were to invite you to my house, it's more personal, but then you forget that there is a business to run and there is things we have to focus on. And then having here is like enables them to also be creative.
Okay.
And also being able to like work hard and play hard.
So those first 2 years, can you take us through the struggles of trying to make it?
One, thinking that I could just hit it right off the bat, and because everyone make it seems like that, but in reality it's more about a check of my personal habits that show that I couldn't run that business. One, because I was striving, and second, I just saw a lot of like failures in marketing, running the store, and not knowing the gaps of the business.
What's been the last 6 years like?
Besides like trying dropshipping e-commerce, it's actually realizing that like I was building sandcastles. So now the goal is to actually build an actual e-commerce brand where I have like IP and legacy, rather than like small wins, but in reality they have no longevity.
To inspire the audience, can you share some of the numbers you guys have done?
Yeah, so the first winning product was like 120K in the first month, and then that like just showed me that it was possible. It did go downhill after that. I just saw a bunch of failures and struggles, but it was enough to keep me going. And then as I build even relationships through my business partners and just amazing people that were talented, we created a team and we did about $5.3 million in sales from 2021 to 2024.
What's the biggest mistake that most e-com entrepreneurs make today?
Not serving the customer. It's immediately taking the product and focusing on the revenue, becoming marketers, but not becoming business owners that serve the people.
If you could travel back to when you were 18 and you first started, what would you tell yourself?
That it's like a lie that I have to get it right at a super young age. That I would have actually run under someone and learned through time, have smaller wins in a way, because it would have been bigger wins for like my character rather than like monetary wins.
So what do you think the turning point was for you as an entrepreneur?
I think it was like my first sale actually, even though I wouldn't be able to call that success because I was negative in terms of like revenue. Seeing someone actually send me money from a PayPal account that I didn't know and me waking up to that, it was like, I think I could make money while I sleep. And the reality of that was enough to keep me going.
What does your team look like?
My team right now looks of 4 amazing people that joined. It's kind of funny the names, but I can name them if you want. There's Grace, and Graca. Then there's Ian, and then there's MJ, and there is Josh, which is they all kind of have their strengths in everything we do. And I do have my 2 business partners, which is Eric and Oscar. So we kind of run the business side, and then the team that's coming in is all to like create the brand, videos, campaigns, creative social media, and even like models. And they're all like volunteering because they just believe the vision of it, which is kind of unheard of in business.
Obviously, marketing is a huge part of running a successful business.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing in terms of marketing?
So in terms of marketing, we're already pre-shooting all the content, preparing for a launch in terms of like social media schedule. Because we know that there's gonna be a hype, and the way that this business is gonna run is like a limited type of launch. That whole psychology is building a hype behind it for a couple months and then dropping the product, and also involving community. So like throwing worship nights or any type of creative nights involves people for me to tell them the story behind it.
Yeah.
And then now I have real word of mouth. Something that most dropshippers don't focus on is we just run ads. And we're this bridge of just give me $50 because you saw my ad. But in reality, it's like, how do we create community so they know the story behind it and they know like, wait, I like the movement. I like why they're doing this. And I think that's how we'll create like a long-term brand.
What's your current tech stack? So what tools, softwares, platforms are you guys using to build and run the business?
Mainly Notion and ClickUp. Very simple for the team because the team is so creative. I have found that CRMs or project management tools make it a little hard to initiate a team right off the bat. So it's creating a workflow of like, let's just brainstorm, let's communicate in whatever way it works. And then now that we have tasks and projects to do, we do need a board. And I think ClickUp and like Notion has helped a lot.
So how are you using both of them in combination with each other?
So at first we started Notion to organize all our text documents in a way because it was so easy to create like Word docs there and like just visuals for quick ideas. And now we're migrating that into an actual project management tool.
Okay. How do you guys build your website and like what other stuff do you guys use?
Yeah, for the website, Shopify. And then also for email marketing, which is gonna be super important for like your brand dropped, is gonna be Klaviyo.
I know you said you're not doing too many ads for this new business right now, but for the previous one, you guys probably ran a ton of ads, right?
Yeah.
What's some of your advice for people that want to run ads?
I think it's understanding the human psychology of what it means to make an ad that converts, and also what's the purpose behind it, and understanding cold, warm, and hot audience. Because if you know who you're speaking to, your ad is going to be performing way better. Okay. So it's even just like setting up the stages of like, this ad is just to showcase that we exist. This ad is to showcase a problem. This ad is to showcase the product that introduces a solution. Yeah.
Typically, what are the types of ads that convert the highest in terms of getting the actual sale?
It really depends on the industry and the product, but if you are in the product that solves a problem, realizing like an urgency and the importance of the problem and then giving the relief of it will help a ton. And or if you're in a different industry, using controversial content honestly will help you a lot to get the first initial like click and like view to the ad, and then later you could channel that to your product or connect that some way.
Now, when you guys were running ads, were you guys doing it in-house yourself, or did you have?
We're doing it in-house.
Okay.
So my amazing business partner, Eric, he's kind of like the one that helps us all run through like omnipresence ads. So we ran ads on Snapchat, Google, Facebook, TikTok, etc. So any platform that we thought, because we just realized like it's wasted money. We're not spending the budget on every touch point that you can have.
Let's see.
So if we were touching you on Facebook, we also want to remind you on TikTok and Snapchat.
At the height, how much were you guys spending on ads per month?
Per month, I think the month that we did about like 1.1 million in like 10 days. And I think maybe, yeah, like then because like our product is seasonal. So in the first 3 months from like September, October, like November to December, January, we'll do like 2 million during those like that time.
By the way, if you're a DTC brand or dropshipper looking to drive more high quality users and boost sales, and you currently spend $50,000 per month or more on running ads on search and social, then I recommend checking out the sponsor of today's video, Taboola. Taboola helps advertisers reach their audiences with native ads and has exclusive partnerships with many of the world's top top websites, getting over 600 million daily active users. You've probably seen their ads on websites like Yahoo, NBC News, MSN, and the Weather Channel. The cool thing about Taboola is that they're able to target users' intent through first-party data. For example, if someone's reading an article about the best home gym gear, Taboola would give them an ad for sports gear, knowing that the reader is likely in the right mindset to actually click the ad. Over 18,000 advertisers run campaigns on Taboola, and they have a proven track record getting businesses 10x higher engagement rates, 18% more purchase intent, and 70% more conversions. For example, Bombas, which is a comfort-focused apparel company, used Taboola and saw a 50% increase in ROAS. They also have tons of tools to help you optimize your campaigns and maximize results such as smart bidding and their AI-driven content optimizer. Now, one thing I learned from my many years in entrepreneurship and online business is that you need to market yourself better than anyone else to be successful. You can have an identical product or even worse than the competition, but at the end of the day, if your marketing is better, you will win. Taboola allows you to get this advantage against your competitors, all while breaking free from overcrowded search and social platforms and improving your ROAS. I'll leave a link below where you can sign up and have a Taboola expert walk you through setting up and optimizing your ads. And now back to the video. Was there ever a time when you thought, I'm done for, or I'm just gonna give up?
Many times. I think I even thought that like maybe 6 months ago or something. Because it's about like, why did I even choose this? And my reasoning was for like the striving and the money. There's a million ways to make $1 million. So it's like, can I find a passion to what I'm doing? But I think I remember like having the ability to create commerce and be able to give a product to the market is actually like helping people. So kind of just changing their mindset.
In terms of AI tools, are there any that you think everyone should use?
I just to start off, I think just ChatGPT is enough, but it's how you use it and how you integrate it to your business. The thing that we value most is time. So I think knowing how to shortcut your time and still create work that enhances your creativity or your expertise is something that we've never had before. And I think that's why like ChatGPT or AI tools in general are so powerful now.
How do you build an actual brand versus just another sale?
I think the sale is direct to consumer marketing, but then we see other brands that are still doing that by storytelling. I think storytelling is how you actually bring a long-term brand, and we see that from big brands, Apple, Nike, etc. They are not selling you a specific product. They are selling you a version of you, a story of you that you could relate to, and when you know how to build that and strive for that, then that's actually how you create a movement that people want to get products for, to represent.
For someone that wants to get into e-commerce, which I know is a portion of the people watching this video, what would you tell them? Like, how should they fast track their learning? Is that even possible?
Content creation is one way that we've seen e-commerce shift. So before it was, we have to launch a store, run ads, and then that's kind of how you're getting attention. There was some type of social media traction, but it was not as talked about. But now we see content creation, you being able to create a video or ad yourself about the product you're selling, allows you to start off with like no money. When we see a shift in TikTok shop, we just see the growth of that. So even learning that skill will set you for success in e-commerce as you learn how to build a website, how to run ads, how to find products, how to create connections with suppliers, manufacturing. All those things are gonna take time, but if you could just get a product or even becoming an affiliate, content is gonna really get you there.
Where do you see the future of e-commerce, like the next 3 to 5 years?
Brand building and world building. I think we see this shift so much right now. Even coffee shops are creating content series and they're blowing up, and we see the mix between physical business and a digital retail store. And now we're realizing that it's all because it's so focused on building a story behind it and a community. So we're just seeing people want authenticity, raw, and actual like real founders.
What does a day look like for you?
We kind of work on Tuesdays. We kind of make Mondays go easy. But on Tuesdays we come in, the team comes in like at 10:30 or 10 a.m., do a brainstorming session, then kind of pray, get into the business workflow, and just hit like our milestones, which will be creating the content, figuring out what we actually have to do in terms of the technical processes, like the shooting, the lights, the models, etc., and then just prepping for like a long-term strategy for the business.
What are some of the highest ROI things you do right now?
Meeting with other business owners. Yeah, I think that's one that we seem to like not focus too much on when you're building, because you're so much in the cave of building it. But in reality is, if a team is coming to help you, I think coming and meeting like with other business owners, one, expands your mind, lets you see things in different perspectives, and also maybe opens up doors for like collaboration that you would have never been able to do with your own like work.
Take us through like a technical issue that you guys are trying to solve right now in the business.
Realizing how hard it is to manufacture clothing to the way that you want it, and not just go and get a blank or get something pre-made. So the actual technical details of that, and then even just creating like the tags and all that and putting effort into it, being unique. You're gonna have to learn so many things that are not in your comfort zone. And that's pretty frustrating when like you think you're an entrepreneur, but you're like, shoot, I don't know anything about clothing. Now I have to go learn a new industry.
How do you price your products?
Because we're going with a drop and limited collection, is one, knowing the basic rule of like 2 to 3x from your product cost. I think that's just a good rule of thumb. But because we are putting all this work into creating a story, a brand, and also the detail of the quality in the material, we are going more into like the 90 to 100 retail range because we just know that it's like worth the story behind it.
In terms of building an e-commerce landing page or product page, any specific tips you have?
So even knowing that there is specific people that love areas in the business you might not have the strength to, but knowing enough to the copywriting and like the visuals and just like being cohesive with branding. I go to a landing page and it looks absolutely horrible and the fonts look horrible, colors are off, then immediately you just hurt your reputation. So every touch point of your brand should look at the level that you're trying to be at.
Any final advice you want to give the audience?
Figure out like why you're doing it and write it down on a piece of paper. So as you're feeling like you shouldn't continue or you want to give up, you go back to that, it'll keep you centered and grounded. So I think that's like the main one.
Love that.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah. So can you introduce yourself and sort of what you've built?
So yeah, my name is Tiffany. I am an entrepreneur. I've been having my business for about 4 years now. I specialize in high ticket e-commerce. I've scaled 2 websites past 2 million in revenue. I also specialize in SEO. That's actually the primary growth vehicle for my websites. And I've taken on some SEO clients recently.
So I know you have a pretty interesting lifestyle. Can you tell us about like your whole digital nomad journey?
For sure. So yeah, right now I'm a digital nomad. I've been nomading for like a year now. I was living in LA for 4 years and I would do like 2 to 3 month long trips, usually somewhere in Asia where I'd have like a best friend go with me. And then I really was just feeling the urge to travel, had no one to go with and just decided to go on my own. I wanted to attend an SEO conference in Vietnam. So that's what brought me to Vietnam and didn't really plan anything after that. 5 months later, I'm still in Asia and was a wild ride, came back to the States and just kind of been bopping around ever since.
So what was your first foray into entrepreneurship? Can you tell us about the story?
My parents are entrepreneurs. They like work in real estate and I just saw how stressed out they were all the time that I actually wanted to just like get a 9 to 5 and just like coast. However, kind of had a few like job experiences working at McDonald's, LinkedIn, from like, you know, a scrappy like fast food job to like a big fancy corporate tech job and just was unfulfilled at all that to the point where I was like, okay, it's time to take my future into my own hands. And I actually started a scrunchie business. That was my first ever business. It was really fun, built a really great community around it on social media, but ultimately was very difficult to monetize, which is kind of what led me to my current business today.
Any other stuff you did? Anything before you started building your scrunchie business?
I realized that I could finesse. And if I kept posting LinkedIn videos, I thought that I would eventually get a job because I really didn't like applying to jobs. And that's when LinkedIn video had just come out. And so I end up like posting a bunch on LinkedIn, end up networking. I got a contract position at LinkedIn. The girl who brought me in, I'm super grateful to her, but she kind of told me, she's like, this job might not be for you. It's not super creative. It's pretty mundane. And yeah, it was. I really didn't enjoy the job, but working at LinkedIn was amazing. So I made sure to like leverage it for what I could. I would stay, eat the dinner there, bring my laptop, work on my scrunchie business. And then yeah, I got a job offer out of LinkedIn into that LA startup. And that just happened by chance. I didn't even apply for it. I just got ringed up.
So your current e-com businesses, can you tell us like what you sell?
So we specialize in concrete fire pits, and then we also sell wood stoves, fireplaces, anything for indoor, outdoor heating. Primarily sell to homeowners, but we're actually building up our B2B sales channel right now. We'll be selling to interior designers, architects, hotel owners, pretty much anyone that wants to outfit their space with a fire element.
To inspire the audience, can you tell us about some of the numbers behind the business?
You know, I was kind of lucky in that I started my business right at the beginning of COVID, and I didn't know that was going to be lucky, but everyone happened to be staying at home, and so they were all redoing their backyards, and that led to a really fast growth trajectory. I did about 800K in my first 8 months in business, which was crazy because I went from my scrunchies business that made literally $1,000 in a year to that kind of money. So yeah, and it's been like, what, 3-4 years since then. We hit about 2 million in gross revenue last year, and that's not counting the agency side where we obviously make retainers from the clients we service.
What has been your strategy for growing so fast? Like what are your most effective marketing plays?
Honestly, people think that fire pits is a very like niche business. Whenever you tell someone, they're like, no way, how'd you think of that? But within like the space that I'm in, which is actually high ticket drop shipping, it's actually a very popular niche. And so it's quite competitive. And so with that, I just saw like year over year, our CPCs on Google Ads were increasing by like 3x. So your cost per click. So we're talking like getting cost per click of like $1 to like $3. And it was just getting really unprofitable to be able to advertise on paid that way. And I had gone through a few SEO agencies, really was unhappy with their work, had no like clarity as to what they were doing, how they were doing it, and ultimately just decided that I was going to teach myself it in order to grow the business. And so of the 2 million that we brought in last year, $700,000 was in just organic revenue.
Wow.
So that's just Google organic. So super, when you're talking about like what that does to profitability, it's huge. Yeah.
Can you clarify what you mean by
organic revenue?
So that just means that we brought in customers through Google search. So we write blogs, we optimize collection pages, we make YouTube videos, basically anything that's outside of paid media we focus on, and that's like how our customers initially find us.
So if you search something like fire pit for sale, do you guys show up?
Yeah, we should show up for
Okay.
sure. I hope so. I mean, Google's an algorithm and ultimately it's always changing. But yeah, for the most part, our keywords are always fluctuating. So sometimes we'll be ranking really well for fire pits for sale, and then maybe we'll drop and then we'll rank for like concrete fire pits. So it really just depends.
So you took the SEO that you learned from building that ecom business and you sort of turned it into an agency, right?
Yeah, so the agency thing was completely random. I never intended to start an agency. Actually, our mutual friend Thomas had introduced me to another now friend of ours named Nick, who owns a brand called Sisu Plunges. So they were just getting off the ground and we just had like a super casual coffee meeting. He wanted to ask me about like SEO as a whole. And when it comes to SEO, like I'm kind of a nerd. I just like love looking at different keywords and just like discovering, just different niches, I guess. And so I looked at the cold plunge niche and I was like, there's like major potential here. I think you should definitely consider it, especially because you are a high ticket brand.
Yeah.
So even if you can sell a few via organic, it's gonna make it worth your money. So I just said like, hey guys, I don't usually do this, but like I'd be down to work with you. So that was my first ever client. And then it's kind of just like snowballed from there, just different friends, kind of see the value of it. I think a lot of people, when it comes to SEO, it has a bad rap because they've been screwed over from agencies, kind of like the ones that I was working with before. And so when you have like a friend that you know that can do it, it's a lot better to just like trust them with it.
And you said like over 30% of your revenue last year was from SEO, which is insane, right?
Yeah.
Do you think this is a strategy that not that many people in e-commerce are prioritizing?
100%. In e-commerce, people associate e-commerce and paid media like hand in hand. And what I mean by paid media, I mean like Google ads, Facebook ads, and it's very fast, right? Like, oh, we're gonna get 20x ROAS, we're gonna launch 100 ads, we're gonna do this, this, and that. And so it's super fast paced, and that's really cool because when you have a winning ad, it just like, it can print a lot of money. Now that format doesn't really work for my business because it's a different buying cycle when you're buying a product that's like $2,000 versus like, a $30 pair of headphones or something like that. I think SEO is extremely valuable. I think that people in e-commerce do not prioritize it enough.
If you were to break it down for the people watching this video and let's say 3 of your biggest SEO tips, what would those be?
First tip is like your content is only as good as your keywords. So it's really important to have a good keyword strategy and choose the right keywords. Just install a Chrome extension called Keywords Everywhere. It's super, super cheap. And basically what you can do is like search anything on Google. It'll show you the volume and then it'll create a little widget on the side and it gives you all the related keywords, the long tail keywords. And then you can use that for your headings in your content, whether that be on a collection page, a blog, etc. Another tip I would say is backlinks. You want to be really careful with backlinks. Basically, it's important because that builds up your trust factor with Google. And so the more websites you have pointing back at your website, it builds up the overall authority of your website and makes you more competitive in like the SEO landscape. And so there's a lot of people on Fiverr, on Upwork selling backlinks, and that can do more damage than good. So you want to make sure you know what you're doing there, either by buying backlinks from a trusted source that's vetted, or I actually have like a vetting checklist if your audience is ever interested on like how to properly vet a backlink. And so like if you follow that checklist, you have a good one. Yeah, and then the next tip would just be like to start small. Like you don't have to, people get really overwhelmed with SEO. That's actually what kept me from doing it for a long time. It's like, oh, there's internal linking, there's backlinking, there's blogs, collection pages. Just literally make like 2 blogs a month, see if it ranks and go from there.
So in building your fire pit business, what tools did you use to build your SEO?
Yeah, to like the tech stack for what I use is basically like Shopify. Both of my websites are hosted on Shopify, super easy. I use Keywords Everywhere, again, is so cheap. Ahrefs is great. I love it for keyword research. Oh yeah, and then one other tool is like Neuron Writer. So that actually like basically will help you analyze what is the top ranking articles and like reverse engineer it and show you the keywords that those top ranking articles use. And then you can use that as you make your own content basically.
Now, in terms of actually writing content or making content, what do you think about AI and like what's the best way to generate content for any e-com business out there?
So Google has said this, but they are not penalizing AI content. Where I think people go wrong is with mass producing AI content where you press one button and it generates the whole article for you. I would personally stay away from that. I think that there's ways to have a mixture of both, like human edited and AI, that make it valuable for the end user, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Like, you can rank a piece of content, but if someone clicks off of it and is not like staying on the page and you're not answering their query, then it's gonna fall. Like, it's just not gonna meet Google's recommendations. So
in the early days of building your Fire Pits business, how did you have the confidence to keep going? I know you said revenue came pretty fast, but like, how did you sustain that, and how did you just keep pushing along?
Yeah, so I guess before I mentioned that Fire Pit business taking off, I didn't mention like the 5 mental breakdowns I had leading up to it on like all the failed projects that happen. It's like failing forward. Like, you always learn something when a project doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to think of businesses more like projects until they hit a certain revenue number. Then I'm like, okay, this is a business. We need employees. But till then, it's just a project. So projects can make money, projects can fail, and that's okay. It's really just a matter of showing up for yourself and kind of believing that you're capable of doing it.
Tell me about the lowest point in your entrepreneurial journey.
After the scrunchies had shut down and I had tried like a low ticket drop shipping product, and I like ran some ads and it like just wasn't working. I just like, I don't know, I just called my friend and I was crying and I was just like, this is, you know, like I feel like I sacrificed so much and it just like doesn't seem like I'm getting anything in return for it. And that was like really hard to just like come and like face that, I guess, that I felt like I was like just losing.
Can you run us through one of the big mistakes you made in building the business and what happened?
Something I wish I had done a little bit better is I probably could have like vetted that SEO agency that I initially hired on a little bit better. I think I was just so overwhelmed by the concept of it that I was like, just take it off my hands. And the problem is that when you do that, you have really no way of like auditing those people's work. Right. And so you can be like, hey, I feel like you're not doing enough, but if you don't understand what they're doing, then you can't really call them out. Learning a little bit of everything, or learning enough to be able to like intelligently talk about it. And then being able to like pick the right people to work with. Because ultimately, you as a founder and owner cannot do everything, but you should strive to at least understand a bit to be able to talk to the people that know a little bit more than you.
Besides SEO, what's one thing that you think a lot of e-commerce entrepreneurs are missing in their business?
Prior to this year, I really wasn't focused on honing my leadership abilities and like really trying to create like culture, and like hiring like A players was really not like a major thought of mine, honestly. I was just looking for employees to kind of like follow instructions and do what I told them. But now that I'm scaling and I realize the value of like finding those specialists who like understand their given like segment of the business and like the value that can bring, I think that's something that, if anything, I wish I had learned that sooner.
Something that I'm really curious about is how you're able to travel while still working. When I'm not at home, when I'm traveling, I can't get into a routine and I'm just like way less productive. So how do you do it as a digital nomad?
Yeah, that's a great question. I honestly don't know how I do it too sometimes. And the reality is like not every day is going to be productive, and you kind of just have to accept it for what it is. But like, I will say that this like lifestyle has really trained me to just like snap into it. Like, I can like turn it on when I'm on the airport, when I get to a friend's house. Like, it doesn't really matter. I don't need a double monitor setup. As long as I have my laptop and good Wi-Fi, like I'm good to go.
Of all the cities you've been to, what's your favorite?
That's a tough one. I would say if anyone's gonna like think about traveling somewhere that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about, I would say Peru is like amazing. My mom's Peruvian, so I'm half Peruvian. So I like love the food, love the culture. So I'd say definitely check out Peru. It's not a city, but a country, yeah.
So you said that your business is like a high ticket drop shipping business. What does that actually mean?
So basically what we do is we sign partnerships with brands, existing manufacturers, usually within the US, to become an authorized dealer for them. It's funny because people think this is like a new concept, but this is basically like what Home Depot does. Home Depot is a retailer, right? They sell John Deere. They don't manufacture John Deere. So Home Depot is an example of like a high ticket website, if you will. So yeah, we basically do that same concept in a different niche. So we work with a variety of brands, sign them on. The great thing about that is a lot of the products are made in the US, so super high quality.
For fulfillment, how does that work in this type of business?
Yeah, so you can handle fulfillment in a couple ways. You can buy bulk inventory and then like get a warehouse and actually ship it out. You get slightly better margins that way. But of course, you can also just have the manufacturer like ship from their warehouse.
So you guys are doing the model where they ship it directly from their warehouse, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day, going back to like kind of what we talked about, I think a lot of entrepreneurship comes to leaning into your strengths and kind of knowing what you're good at. For me personally, like I'm an online marketer and, you know, I like to build teams and I have no interest in really like managing a fulfillment warehouse. If I had an opportunity to like partner with someone that did know how to do that, like I'd be all for it. But until that day comes, I'll just keep doing it the format I'm doing it.
I know a lot of new entrepreneurs too, they'll spend so much time on their website, just like the design or like hiring an agency to make it perfect or whatever, spending $10,000, $15,000. Do you think they need to do that, or can they just build it themselves on Shopify?
I think it all depends on what you're selling. So like I have a friend who literally sells one product. And so like his homepage is basically his landing page. So that's like where you got to nail that page. Like it has to look really, really good. And it also depends on your traffic source, right? I think for his business, he's primarily driving from TikTok. So when you're talking about that, people want to land on the page, that website better not be slow. It's got to be fast because you're talking about Gen Z. They're used to having things load quickly. In that case, it's really knowing about your target audience and kind of the things that they value. But overall, do I think it's worth it to pay 10, 15K for a website designer? Probably not. You can get really far with just Shopify.
What do the next 5 years look like for you? How are you going to scale your businesses? What pivots are you making?
I definitely want to grow our B2B sales channel when it comes to the fire pit business. Get our, second website going. I'm super excited about teaming up with other e-com founders to help them bring their SEO in-house, because I've seen how expensive it can be to hire agencies. So actually providing e-com founders with those SOPs, the support that they need, and the strategy is basically such a cool concept to me, because then it allows me to do my SEO nerd thing on different websites and just help businesses ultimately launch on their own. I don't want them to be reliant on me all the time. Now that we've dialed in the sauce, it's time to just share it with friends and help them win too.
And are you glad you went the e-com and entrepreneurship route?
Oh, 100%. I think e-com suits me so well, just because it's super location independent, it's time independent, I can work whenever I want. I can say that I think that e-com, at least in my experience, I know it's different for everyone, it's kind of more of a solo journey. So that's something where if you're not comfortable working for long hours by yourself, then it might not be the best business model for you. And now the agency thing was a surprise, but honestly it suits me pretty well because I love meeting people. So it's just really cool to collaborate with other people.
What does your team currently look like?
So my team is made up of, I have an SEO specialist who I've trained up. I also have a customer support representative, and then we have our sales guy. So that's really just the team, just 3 of us. I really try to keep a lean team. I want to try to scale to 5-10 mil with under 10 people. That's my goal. We also have contractors too. So for example, we have the Google Ads contractor I just spoke about. I do some personal brand stuff. So I work with some editors there, but these are all contractors, but in-house employees 3.
So we have a mix of people watching, people that they have their e-com business and they're just looking for advice to scale further. And there's also people that probably want to get into e-commerce.
Yeah.
If you were starting out today with let's say 1,000 maybe, I don't know.
I think 1,000 would be good.
Okay, yeah, 1,000.
Yeah. The thing is, when I built my scrunchie brand, I knew it wasn't going to be the end game. I built it because it was cheap to manufacture. I thought it'd be really cool to learn branding, social media, all that stuff. I learned so much through that business, and I probably spent less than $1,000 on the business in total. So I feel if you're patient, I think it's really good to do something you're passionate about and focus on the skills that you want to learn. If you want to make money, just straight to the get-go, I think, yeah, high ticket dropshipping is a great business model. It's getting more competitive, but there's still a way to make it work for you.
Why would you trade that stability for the chaos of trying to build your own thing?
I'm actually super glad you asked that question, because I had a full-time job and worked on my business for a year and a half. I did not go all in, and I actually don't really advocate for going all in until your business is making at least equivalent to what you're making now. Obviously, if you're making more than 6 figures, that's going to be really hard to build up to, but a comfortable living wage, I'd say that you're okay. So yeah, it took a year and a half of me juggling both to where I decided to go on my own.
So there you have it, asking e-commerce entrepreneurs for their advice. I hope you guys learned a ton from the video. If you guys want to learn more about building your e-commerce store, I'll have links to Taboola as well as other resources down below in the description. And yeah, it was super inspiring. Thank you, Tiffany and David, for sharing all your wisdom. And if you got any value from this video, make sure to hit that like button and also subscribe for more content just like this. I do a ton of videos about entrepreneurship, investing, and finance. Basically all stuff to help you live a financially successful life. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.